Thanks a lot for having me. My name is Bao Bean. I've been doing tech investment about 22 years, and we're very happy to come back to Taiwan about a year and a half ago with our MOX accelerator. So first, I'm just going to briefly introduce us. It's a little bit too complicated. We have way too many brands. So we're SOSV. We're the accelerator VC. We're focused on investing globally by sector through accelerators. So the four sectors, I run internet and software globally. We have hardware with HAX, biotech with IndieBio in San Francisco, and the Rebel Bio Accelerator in Cork, Ireland, and then FoodX for food tech and ag tech in New York. So we're global, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Taipei, San Francisco headquarters, New York, and Ireland. We invest globally, but by sector. So we're one of the four global accelerator groups that has a fund, but instead of being focused on Silicon Valley, like YC or Techstars, which is C or corporate, or 500 startups, which invests around the world and brings companies to the Valley, but SOSV and our China accelerator, HAX, IndieBio, Rebel Bio, FoodX, what our programs are focused on is investing by industry, going really, really deep. We're very happy. As of the second quarter of 2017, we are the #1 most active seed investor in the world. We'll probably go back to #2 after the second quarter. Second quarter is pretty big. We did about 60 deals. We invest 195 companies a year. We have 700 companies in the portfolio, and we're probably most proud of a TechCrunch study that came out that says we're the #1 investor in female-led startups in the world. So it just sort of happened that way, and we're pretty psyched about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Taiwan going global. So when I lived in Taiwan for 5 years, I first came here in 1993, and I used to work at National Securities, jumped in. And my job was to explain Taiwan tech to international investors, 96, 97, and those companies were all hardware. Taiwan has many unicorns in the hardware space. The question is, where are we with the internet? So I left Taiwan the last time in 2002, 2003, and I came back in 2007 as an internet investor, looking for startups to invest in internet, and there weren't that many. Why is that? So we'll go into that. So in order to build a vibrant startup ecosystem, what do you need? Well, the government is very important. Generally speaking, it's best if the government supports, but it gets out of the way. Okay, so it's a supporting role, and I think the government in Taiwan, so far what we've seen, they're working on both being a supporting body, but also increasingly getting out of the way and opening up the market. There's a lot of regulations that are in the process of being changed, and we're very happy to see that. The second thing that you need is academia, universities. So in Taiwan, universities are very, very strong. They're very important. They're seen as leaders. This is the same in the U.S., Southeast Asia, China, but especially in Taiwan. So it's very important for universities to take a leadership role because they are shaping the young minds. The professors are seen as mentors. And the key thing, though, is to move from studying something to actually doing it. It's better to learn by doing than to learn by reading about something. So we believe that academia can provide that bridge between the study of something and actually executing and doing it. And this is important, not just in the U.S. or in Singapore, but also here. The third thing that you need for a startup ecosystem is investors. So Taiwan has a lot of investors, but they're generally hardware investors. They are industry experts in hardware. And there are many Taiwanese who are experts in internet, but they're not necessarily here in Taiwan. So what we're trying to do at this summit is help introduce not just hardware investment, but also biotech, but also internet, but also software startups to the investors, and help the investors become smart money in multiple different sectors. Because of course hardware is still a very important part of the economy here, but where the opportunity for growth is in other sectors. So investors are key, and but finally entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs who are willing, are necessary, who are willing to risk everything. So entrepreneurs are generally a little bit crazy. Okay? You have to be a little bit crazy in order to want to do something that's never been done before. Okay? Get paid no salary. Put all of your personal money into it. Put at risk all your personal relationships. Never see your friends again. Okay? And really just focus on one thing. So you need to be a little bit crazy. And entrepreneurs are key. And the important thing for entrepreneurs is to know that you're not alone. Okay? And we have, for us, we focus on bringing entrepreneurs who have failed and failed and failed before, and to bring them, hopefully they succeeded at some point, and to bring them to help the younger entrepreneurs. Okay? We think this is very important because it's very hard to start up by yourself. It's a lot easier to start up in a community of people who can support you as you and your team are going through a very, very tough time. There's a global group called Startup Grind. Okay, grind is like grinding up into small pieces. So if you have, like, say, a sausage, you put meat in, and it grinds up into little pieces. It's very, very messy. So starting up is a grind. You're taking something and you're grinding it up into little tiny pieces. It's very dirty. It's very bloody. It's very tiring. It's very tough. And when you're doing this, you need an ecosystem to help you. So, why are we looking at going global? Well, Taiwan is a great test market, especially if you've got a product that you want to take to a developed market, say US. But Taiwan, as you know, is a small market. In order to build a big company, you need to go global. And our focus at SOSV and MOX and China Accelerator and HACS, all of our accelerators are focused on going global. So that's what we're here to talk about. What's it take to go global? So one of the problems it's not a problem per se, but it's a perception. The perception is that many startup founders are young. Okay? In the Silicon Valley, people actually like investing in younger founders, so they're ageist. In Taiwan, it's a little bit different. It's actually hard to get an investment if you are young. And the focus should be not how old you are, but are you the best entrepreneur to solve a particular problem? So age generally really doesn't matter. We should support both the young entrepreneurs and the older entrepreneurs. One thing that we've heard in Taiwan is, oh, I'm too young to start up. Well, no one is ever too young to start up. You might be too young to be successful, but that's how you learn. The reason why 33-year-old Silicon Valley-based entrepreneurs are probably the most successful is because they already screwed up 2 or 3 other startups before they got there. So it's that experience that we want to encourage. And not necessarily starting their own companies, but even working in other people's startups. That's great experience. You need to learn by doing. The second is that Silicon Valley is successful, and increasingly in mainland China, you're seeing success. And in some cases in Southeast Asia, Israel, of course, is failure as a good thing. Okay, now, of course, failure is never a wonderful thing to happen. But if you're in an ecosystem where failure is not seen as bad, but as a step to move to the next level, then that's very, very important. And I think we see in a lot of markets, the culture is, oh, I failed. Therefore, it's bad and I am bad. Okay? It's very important to realize that failure is just one step on the way to success, and to support failure. Not to encourage failure, but to support failure and make sure that the people who are failing fast. Okay? You don't want to fail at the same thing for a very long time. You want to fail, understand that you failed, and then change very, very quickly. So for our accelerator programs, we focus on running tests. We try and get our companies to do 5 tests, 5 different tests per week. And these tests the vast majority are all going to be failures. So over 3 months, 90 days, 12 weeks, we're doing 50, 60 tests. Now the key thing is we only need 2 or 3 to work, okay? Which means you're going to fail like 45 times. And that's okay, as long as you're doing it quickly. So building an ecosystem that supports failure, supports failing quickly, and supports moving on is key. And finally, support. I was talking to an entrepreneur. Actually, their mother came to me, the entrepreneur's mother. And the mother's like, oh, my son is not sleeping. He's at work all the time. I'm afraid for his health. He never sees his friends. And this is in Taiwan. And I'm like, well, it's called starting up. Yes, you do work a lot. Because when you're trying to do something that's never been done before, and you're putting everything into it, it does take up a lot of time. And so, and instead of sort of being worried about, the person not seeing their friends so much, I think it's important that the community support the entrepreneurs as they go through this grind startup experience. We generally have a rule of thumb. There's 5 things that you do in life. There's sleep, work, family, friends, and exercise. Okay? And if you are doing startup, you can pick 3. Okay, so you just have to pick. One of them is obviously going to be work. For me, the other one is family, and the third one, which is very, very important, is actually sleep. I don't exercise, and I don't have any friends. So it's important to give that support. Okay. So when you're going global, you have some choices. Where are you going to go global to? There's a next door neighbor, China. Okay, it's very big, has a huge market. They speak Chinese. But oftentimes, Taiwan products, if you're trying to solve a problem for Taiwan, that's a very different problem than they have in China. China is a mobile-first, mobile-only market, whereas Taiwan, usually people got started on the internet on a PC. So when you're looking at China, it's a very competitive market. The local companies have a huge amount of money. Okay, it's a very fast-moving market. And even the Chinese entrepreneurs are increasingly leaving China because China is too competitive. So I would think very hard about whether you want to go to China as a market. Sure, you speak the same language, but it's a different place, different market, different needs, different structure. And they don't have Facebook, whereas Facebook is very popular here. They don't have Google, whereas Google is very popular here. So any product that you make for Taiwan, generally, at least on the software and internet side, you will have to throw in the garbage can, okay, and start over from scratch. So with China, we help Taiwan companies go to China, but 99% of international companies do not belong in China. So feel free to come talk to me, whether you belong in China or not, on the internet and software side. Generally, the answer is no. Okay, so U.S. U.S. is actually generally pretty close to Taiwan in terms of the problems that the people in Taiwan have are similar to the problems that are being solved for U.S. companies, for U.S. businesses, and for U.S. consumers. So traditionally, Taiwan entrepreneurs have gone to the U.S. and they've done well. One problem is they never come back, but we can get to that later. But the US is an obvious path, and there are lots of great programs. We have our hardware platform, Hacks, in San Francisco. So once you have a hardware product, once you have sales, but you're looking for distribution, then you can go to our Hacks US program, and we will help get you into Toys R Us. We'll help get you into Apple, to Target, to Walmart, to Best Buy, because we have partnerships with all those players, especially Amazon. So one of the companies here, Kitchbot, just follow the smell of cookies. They're the ones making cookies. So they're entering Hacks growth in San Francisco to enter that market. We also recommend 500 startups. They bring companies from all around the world, and they enter the US market. And there's a bunch of other programs. Okay. So for us, on the internet side, we actually are the opposite. We help companies from around the world enter China, Southeast Asia, India. Okay. So we are focused more on the Asia market. And that's where we get to Southeast Asia, sort of rest of the world. We think there's a huge opportunity for Taiwan startups in internet and software to focus on the rest of the world. Southeast Asia, India. They use Google, they love Facebook and WhatsApp, and a lot of the products here can be altered and changed to work to solve problems for the consumers and to some extent the businesses in these markets. So when you're going global, it's similar to building any type of business. You know, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? The key difference here is that the problem that you're trying to solve for somebody in Taiwan or even the US is different country by country by country. So you might think you have a great product, but it might not solve a problem in the country that you're looking at. Okay? So you need to make sure whatever you have, whether it be an app, a service, piece of software, or even a hardware solution, must solve a problem in the market that you're going into. The second thing is the solution. So you've identified the problem. The people in your target country have that problem. Is what you have built capable or able of solving that problem in that country? Okay, so you might be able to solve the problem in Taiwan, but can you solve the problem in India? Your solution might not be a fit. The third thing is, are you the best in the world? So locals always have an advantage. Okay, they know the market, they have friends, they get free stuff from their friends. You don't have friends, you don't know the market. So you need to be the best in the world. If you're not the best in the world going into the market, you need to think, should I really go? Now, when you go into a new market, it's important to understand what's in the market. So in Lean Startup, they have a saying, get out of the building. Okay, go out and talk to people. So our advice is to get off the island. Go talk to people. Okay? Go visit. If you're going to go global, you have to go there. And when you go there, you identify that there is a problem that you can solve, that your product can solve that problem. Then you need to figure out what is your unfair advantage in that market. Okay? Without an unfair advantage, you probably shouldn't go there. A lot of Taiwan entrepreneurs go to China because they think, okay, we're all Chinese. But they forget to identify what their unfair advantage is against the local players in China. So once you're there, so you've gone and done it, you're going global. Okay, so then what? Well, you are not local. So the most important thing that we drill down into our companies is to focus on data. Because you don't speak the local language. You're not of the local culture. And so the best way to communicate with your users, whether they be companies or consumers, is to do it through your product. So you show your product to people, they use it, and the communication, the conversation that you have with your users is through the data. You watch every click, every open, every movement, measure everything, and the data will tell you whether you're doing a good job and whether you're doing a bad job. So we're extremely data-driven, because you have to be when you're going into a market. Your gut instinct that tells you what you're supposed to be doing is almost always going to be wrong when you go into a new market. Because you are not 21-year-old Indonesian females from a tier 2 city. No matter how much you want to pretend you are, you're not, okay? You need to actually get feedback from Indonesian females who are 22 years old from a tier 2 city. So once you're in the market, you need to hire global. One of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of Taiwan entrepreneurs do not take on international co-founders. Not only do they not take on international co-founders, at the time, they don't hire international staff. So when you go into a market, you need to hire globally, okay? Now, it might not work out. You might not get along very well. But if you're going to go global, you actually have to be global. You're not going to do it with a team that's exclusively from Taiwan. Now, the great thing is there are a lot of students from all around the world here, and you can practice on them. It's called interns. I highly recommend it. Finally, once you are global, okay, you can't do it by yourself. So this is key for the investors in the room. Mentors are very, very important. They've been there, they have done that. They failed again, they failed a third time, and then they succeeded. So having mentors who you can go to for advice is key, and we recommend that the investors, not only the investors have mentors, but the startups have mentors. People that they can go to when they're investing cross-border or when their startups are going cross-border. And this is probably one of the most important points. For investors, you want to have investors that understand not only your product and your industry, but also the markets that you're going into, okay? So there are investors that help with market entry. There are also investors that help with day-to-day things like team, management, operations. You want a mix of investors with different skills, okay? And the investors are going to be your support. They're going to help you through the tough times. And as investors, you're not sitting there saying, here's my money, give me a report. In early stage investing, your job is to help. Because in early stage, everybody's money is the same color. And actually, money is generally pretty easy to get. You might not think so, but there's a lot of money out there. What's hard to get is great advice, great help, great support. And as investors, that's what you need to work on providing. So being an investor is a big responsibility. You're not just giving your money, but you're also giving your time. You're giving your network, you're giving your name, you're giving your reputation. And you do not want to be associated with too many failing teams. So a lot of people talk about global from day one. It's very, very hard to do. And we actually advise people to not go global from day one, but try and go global from year one. So you need to get product market fit somewhere, okay? Get users that love your product, that use your product in a market. It could be Taiwan, it could be another market, it doesn't matter. But only after you have product market fit somewhere, try and then go global. So the last thing is you're going to fail. As investors, you're going to fail. As startups, you're going to fail. It's okay. It happens. I started angel investing in 1998, okay, 99. It was a very, very bad time to start angel investing. Okay? All my companies went out of business. Oops. But I learned from it. I started again in 1996, 1997, and I took a systematic approach. I invested in one company every 3 months for 9 years with my personal money. Now, I put 100% of my personal money into angel investing. I do not recommend this for you. Okay. Yes, don't do that. But I did 39 investments over 9 years. I am making money 10, 11 years later. I'm up, not very much, but I'm up about 10 times, 10x. But the key thing is to learn. You learn by doing. And you're not going to learn how to be a great investor by reading about it or going to a class. You're going to learn by doing it, by failing. So I suggest on the investment side to make periodic investments, small investments, and to help you, the companies that you invest in, and learn. And over time, you'll get better. So I've been doing tech investment 22 years, but early stage investment about 12, 13 years. And I can say that my later investments are a lot better than my earlier ones. So it's okay to fail. Now for entrepreneurs, you're going to fail. It's a fact of life. Your parents are going to look funny at you. Okay, your colleagues are going to think you're strange. But it's okay. There's a community of us here. Just go over to Mox in Yensham on Fridays, and we all get together and support each other through our many, many failures. So how do we work? Well, we do the same thing. So we have our team, just like you have investors, and we help directly. We have our alumni, so all the other startups that we've invested in. So there's 500 entrepreneurs that have gone through the China Accelerator and Launch program, and they help out. In fact, a lot of them, their startups died. They need a job. So we recycle our co-founders very regularly. The third is mentors. So we have 270 mentors in the internet. Mostly they're my friends, because I'm not a very social person. So I ask all my friends to become mentors to the startups, and it gives me an excuse to see them. But you're going to open up your network to your investments. And as an entrepreneur, you want to pick investors that have a great network. And finally, partners. We partner with TSS, we partner with TIR, we partner with 35 accelerators around the world. We partner with about 15 different governments. So partners are very, very useful, especially when you're going global and you're not a local player. And finally, experts in residence. Sometimes you don't know how to do something. It's okay to say, I don't know. And you bring in an expert to do some consulting, to spend a month with you. For Mox, we're not experts in driving contract flow, pipeline flow. So we brought in an expert. And you need to understand when you're not going to be good at something, that it's okay to bring in an expert. So we're Mox. We're SOSV. Very happy to be here. Just one last thing, case study. So we came here a year and a half ago. We brought startups from all around the world. We brought mentors from all around the world. But we didn't actually have any Taiwan companies in Mox until this last batch. Batch 3 this summer, we had 3 Taiwan companies. So we always wear our company's t-shirts, not our own t-shirts. So Bigo is a team from Kaohsiung. The entrepreneur is not young. He's around in his 40s, early 40s. He's got 2 kids. This is his 4th startup. But he had a passion for search. And he co-founded a company called Fei Wang. But he wanted to do more. He built the Fei Wang platform, and they're like top 50 in Taiwan. But he wanted to do vertical price compare search from Kaohsiung. So he launched about 7 months ago. And in 6 months, he's profitable in the 2nd month. And he's the top 100 website in Taiwan. Okay, he's got 6 million monthly actives. So that's great. But when you're top 100 in Taiwan, it's not a big enough market. So in the last 2 months, we've launched him in Thailand. We helped Bigo sign with Lazada, the largest e-commerce platform in Southeast Asia, and a couple of other partners. Started making revenue in Thailand, and we're getting ready to launch in the rest of Southeast Asia. And after Southeast Asia, next year we're going to try and go for the world. Okay, so from 4 guys in the garage, well, the servers are in the garage, they actually work in the living room, in Kaohsiung. They are working on going global. And sometimes the hardest thing is to take that first step. So we encourage you to take that first step. Thanks a lot.